Here we have Pele. Many consider the prolific Brazilian goal scorer to be the best soccer player ever. And here we have Diego Maradona, an Argentine virtuoso with the ball, who many consider to be the best soccer player ever. You see the problem. They never played each other, they're 20 years apart. Maradona's first year with Argentinos Juniors was Pele's last season with the New York Cosmos, and he was playing for the Cosmos well after his prime. So to figure out who's superior, all anyone could do is speculate. Constantly, from the time Maradona entered the scene to after his death. How fun for two guys who clearly knew who was best. Himself. Each guy would pick himself. Pele and Maradona first met in 1979 for a magazine story, and there was no beef. They weren't exactly friends, but just because they weren't peers yet. They'd be better classified as idol and up-and-comer. Pele was a retired legend, nicknamed the King of Football. His shelves sagged with trophies. And after collecting all that, he moved north and got Americans excited about soccer. 18-year-old Maradona wasn't a nobody. He was a promising player who'd just qualified for the Junior World Cup, but he was no threat to Pele's legacy. And young Maradona had no reason to beef with the King of Football. He was just in awe. Pele was mentorly, offering advice that would prove prescient, as we'll see later. When they parted, Pele gave Maradona a medal he received when he retired from the New York Cosmos. Maradona said he would keep it his whole life. What a sweet, wholesome scene. If you find it a bit too saccharine, don't worry. As Maradona's career takes off, a bitterness unique to beef seeps in. In the lead-up to the 1982 World Cup, there was a lot of hype around Maradona. He was no longer a wide-eyed kid, he was experienced, decorated, and rich. He was touted as the next Pele, a compliment that Maradona did not want. Too much pressure. The old Pele didn't like it either. Through metaphor, he said Maradona was a good soccer player, but come on, Pele is untouchable. He threw some cold water on everyone's Maradona enthusiasm, saying his main doubt about the Argentine was that he wasn't a good enough person to justify all the love and attention he received. Maradona felt betrayed. Why was the guy who gave him a keepsake medal coming for him? And he went on to have a lousy World Cup, mostly because defenders would rather kill him than let him pass. Pele, who'd seen similar treatment in the '66 World Cup, slipped back into a mentor role and offered Maradona some advice. Maradona was no longer receptive. Argentina was eliminated in the second stage by Pele's country. During the game, a frustrated Maradona was sent off for a foul one newspaper called a vasectomy tackle. Pele was critical, but so were a lot of people. The World Cup disappointment didn't hinder Maradona's career, because he was really good. In '84, he transferred to Napoli for a record fee, and Naples was glad to get him. Fans were extremely angry when they thought Barcelona wasn't going to make the deal, and they protested so hard the Spanish consulate needed protection. 2 years after that vote of confidence from the people, Maradona had another chance at a World Cup. And there was someone else who was eager for another chance at a World Cup. Pele. Yes, he was 46, but this was a serious offer to help a Brazilian team that was hampered by injuries. The coach ended up turning him down. Maradona, perhaps remembering the betrayal of the last World Cup, had a little comment about Pele's offer, which made Pele call him immature. Maradona didn't respond to that because he was busy leading a very average Argentine team to a World Cup title practically on his own. Yes, this is the tournament that featured his Hand of God goal, but that same game, Maradona also scored what is quite possibly the best goal ever, so evens out? Maradona saw a lot of praise for his performance, but it was often in the context of how he compared to Pele. There were press clippings Maradona couldn't have liked, and press clippings Pele couldn't have liked. I'm pretty confident Pele wanted to burn those press clippings because while the world was either celebrating the Argentine or cursing how good he was, Pele argued that Maradona wasn't actually that impressive. He said he was inconsistent and not aggressive enough. words that Maradona proved ridiculous in the following years with Napoli. He was undeniably talented. Was he more talented than Pele? Hard to say, but by the 90s, one thing was clear. He was ruder than Pele. This reputation was mostly due to him being kind of bratty in the 1990 World Cup, and admitting the Hand of God goal was purposeful. Oh, and he started a huge brawl in '84. There was a lot. Whereas Pele was honored by the UN, compared himself to Beethoven, and gave his sport the nickname the Beautiful Game. Pele actually could also be kind of violent when he played, but in 1990 nobody remembered that. Nutted means headbutted in England, by the way. In 1991, Maradona failed a drug test with cocaine in his system and was banned from Italian soccer for 15 months. 3 weeks after that, he was arrested for use and possession of cocaine. And the media saw these transgressions as more fodder in the Pele versus Maradona debate, which wasn't so much about soccer anymore. Perhaps because it was impossible to tell who the better soccer player was, whereas it was very easy to tell who was arrested and who was not. In the 1994 World Cup, Maradona tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and Pele seized upon the "I'm good, he's bad" narrative. It seems kind of strange that Maradona kept letting Pele comment without a comeback. Maybe he had too much other stuff going on, maybe he was over the beef, or maybe he attacked Pele anonymously. In an authorized biography of Pele published in 2000, the Brazilian's agent said a jealous Maradona started the rumor that Pele had an affair with a coach as a teenager. Pele never responded to the accusation because he didn't think anybody would take Maradona seriously, and because he felt sorry for Maradona. Maradona was still suffering from drug addiction and had been hospitalized earlier that year. Pele's agent tried to get Pele to strike back. It would have been easy, but Pele wouldn't do it. In the past, he was quick to criticize Maradona, but now that the guy was sick, everything was different. Pele seems like a kind of good guy. Though Maradona found some counterexamples and discussed them in his autobiography published just a few months later. He cast aspersions on Pele for not helping out his alcoholic teammate who died at age 49. And he said Pele should have helped unionize players. That one's kind of personal because back in 1995, Maradona launched an international players union to go up against FIFA. A lot of big names joined the cause, but Pele didn't, which Maradona noted. Maradona had long been frustrated with Pele's closeness to FIFA president João Havelange. When Havelange was first elected in the 70s, he used Pele as a campaign prop. Havelange attempted to have a similar relationship with Maradona when he hit the scene, and Maradona resented it. Pele and Maradona fought about Havelange, though Pele did eventually come around to the Havelange Sucks team. Back to Maradona's book, a surprising thing. Maradona was complimentary toward Pele as an athlete, and he summed up their rivalry in mitigating terms. They didn't have beef, they were just two guys who didn't click. If it weren't for FIFA, this would be the end of the story. In December 2000, FIFA thought it would be fun to elect a Player of the Century in an online poll. Maradona crushed Pele, possibly because an online poll appealed to a younger generation that had never seen Pele play, but hey, he still crushed. Pele went on Brazilian TV and said Maradona was worse than him, and actually a bunch of other Brazilians too. Look, the king of football could be considerate to Maradona's drug addiction, but he wasn't going to stand for the people giving his crown to someone else. In response, Maradona reminded everyone he played in a tougher league than Pele. FIFA found Maradona winning embarrassing because of, how he didn't like them, and also the drugs. So they changed the rules of the contest. Now there would be 2 awards. One for the Internet Player of the Century, and one for the Player of the Century chosen by FIFA's football family. One of those sounds a lot better than the other, doesn't it? Pele won the good award. There was outrage from Maradona, who threatened to skip the ceremony, and from his fans, who protested outside the ceremony with articulate signs. At the gala, Pele asserted his superiority. and Maradona left before Pele's award was presented. Yeah, Pele headlined. In the years that followed, Maradona blamed Pele as much as FIFA for the slight, which he talked about often. But in 2005, after a long stint in rehab, a new Diego Maradona emerged. He hosted a TV show in Argentina, and his guest for the very first episode was Pele. There wasn't a big blowout fight. Instead, the two were so friendly it was kind of annoying. They headed a ball back and forth, sang songs, and exchanged autographed jerseys. With more than just an autograph, look, Pele wrote a nice little note. Pele praised Maradona for overcoming his addiction. To be clear, that's not what I'm saying is annoying. And he even implied they would work together in the anti-drug movement. Maradona seemed on board and ready to end the feud.
Vamos a hablar, vamos a aclarar nuestros puntos de vista y vamos a hacer cosas para la gente.
But about 4 months later, Pele said an Argentine player wasn't as good as a Brazilian player. Maradona accused him of being on his period. Should I address that as a woman? I know nobody wants me to, but let me just say, that's not how it works. Okay, so, it seems weird that Maradona would go from all buddy-buddy on his TV show to attack mode so quickly, with such a little impetus. But problem was, Maradona's personal life was again spinning out of control. He was hospitalized in 2007, and Pele wasn't trying to beef with a sick person. Now, of course, they were still compared by fans and the media, so they still had to field questions about one another. Maradona would say the Player of the Century vote proved he was better. Pele would advocate for himself, but in a kind of jokey way. He was trying to keep it light. In 2008, a healthier Maradona became Argentina's coach, and Pele decided he could handle some criticism. Maradona then revisited the homophobic rumor he may or may not have started in the first place. During the 2010 World Cup, Maradona gave Pele a hard time for doubting South Africa's hosting abilities, and Pele got more aggressive than we'd seen him in years. Maradona dismissed Pele's comments as the mutterings of an old man. This was an insult we'd see a lot in the coming years, especially when Pele claimed any Brazilian was better than Maradona's countryman Lionel Messi. But during UEFA Euro 2016, there was a shift. Both legends were coaching in a promotional match, and like on Diego's TV show back in 2005, they claimed peace. The difference was, this time, it stuck. The comparisons hadn't, and still haven't, stopped, but the adversaries seemed to put less weight on what others thought. Perhaps age calms the coals beneath the beef. In 2019, Pele was hospitalized with an infection. Maradona wished him a speedy recovery and referred to him by his lofty nickname, King. Then in 2020, Maradona suddenly died of a heart attack, and the soccer community across the world mourned. Pele eulogized him in an Instagram post, saying, "The world would be much better if we could compare each other less and start admiring each other more," followed by much admiration for his former foe, including calling Maradona incomparable. Pele isn't saying Maradona's better or worse, he's saying it doesn't matter. In the end, they're two of the best there ever was and will ever be, and that's enough. Hello! Thank you for watching, everybody! We have more soccer videos over here, and we also have a subscribe button for you to do with as you wish. For Secret Base, I'm Clara Morris. Good night and good game.